the introduction of our guest speaker, and this will be done by Director Danielle. Go ahead, Director Danielle.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm so happy to be here, and it's so great to see everyone here, and to our special guests, welcome. And so I am thrilled to this evening to introduce to you our public speaking guest, Mrs. Karlene Kelly-Reid. Mrs. Karlene Kelly-Reid is the Financial Solutions Manager for the Jamaica Money Market Brokers in the Mandeville branch. She has over 15 years of experience in the financial sector. She is a past student of Manchester High School, Hampton School, UA, and Nova Southeastern University, where she completed a master's in business administration with honors and was inducted into the Sigma Beta Delta International Honor Society and was the valedictorian of the 2007 graduating class. Karlene is involved in a number of civic organizations. She is a past president of the Rotaract Club of Mandeville, where she was awarded Rotarian of the Year for the 2012-2013 administrative year. She's also the past president of the Icebreakers Toastmasters Club in Mandeville, where she designated a competent, She is also a past president of the Icebreakers Toastmaster Club in Mandeville, where she designated a competent communicator and was the first runner-up in the national evaluation competition in 2017. She's a two-time Area 9 International Speech Contest speech winner and is now a member of Dynamic Speakers Toastmasters Club and the current Area 8 International Speech winner and Division 81B Speech champion. She's also chairman of the Manchester Festival Queen Committee and was the first person from Manchester to win the Miss Jamaica Festival Queen title in 1991. She's a past director of the Manchester Chamber of Commerce and has served on the Manchester Parish Library Committee and the Manchester Parish Victim Support Unit. She's also a member of the board of Cross Keys High School and the Mount Olivet Boys Home. She is an adjunct faculty member of the University College of the Caribbean, where she lectures in public speaking and academic writing. She's the mother of two children, Dominic Reid and Nicholas Reid. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me make welcome Mrs. Karlene Kelly-Reid.
Thank you so much, Director Danielle, and I just really want to commend you because you have been so awesome throughout the process. I think you're a great professional service director because you're so professional. I appreciated the regular updates and what's happening and the agenda and everything. So, good job and keep that up.
Thank you so much.
Rotaractors, fellow Rotarians, guests, I think a few members of my Toastmasters Club are also online, and I want to welcome them. It is such a pleasure this evening to do this presentation on public speaking. I met with the executive of the club, did a brief introduction to public speaking, and then we thought it would be great if I had the opportunity to go deeper on the subject and also for the benefit of the wider membership of the club. So it is really my pleasure to be here this evening. So just to tell you a little bit about how the presentation will run, and I have here, Dominique knows I'm obsessed with Obama. He's one of my favorite speakers, so I had to throw him in there. I will be looking a little bit on speech anxiety, the benefits of public speaking, how to organize your speech, and then we'll get down to some practice. And I'll also share with you a little bit about Toastmasters. So for me, public speaking is my passion. I remember when I was interviewed with JMB and they asked me, so what is your passion? What are you passionate about? And I told them that it was public speaking. I mean, they looked at me and they said, they have never ever had that answer in all the interviews that have been done. But I realized that I am different from the majority of persons. And people have this love-hate relationship with public speaking. So I know it's not the norm. Generally speaking, people really don't love public speaking. And if you were to look at the top 5 global fears, which I've listed there, you'll see that public speaking, by all research done, ranks as the #1 fear that people have. So it ranks above death at #2, spiders at #3, darkness, heights, flights, all the other really rational fears rank below public speaking. And so in my little world, I'd love to change that. And I'd love to leave you this evening feeling a little different about public speaking. I should probably do a poll and see how many people love and hate public speaking. So I always want to understand why the fear of public speaking. And I think perhaps it could be that people are concerned that an audience would tune out and start to sleep while they're speaking. But when was the last time that you saw an audience humiliate a speaker? Anybody can tell me of any instance that they have where a speaker was humiliated by the audience?
George Bush, some years ago, when a man threw a shoe at him.
Yeah, one man. Yes, okay, that was one case, and one man in a crowd of several people. So yes, it can happen occasionally, but if we really think about it, and public figures are a little bit different, like presidents and so on, because the whole political hostility that exists. But a regular plain Jane speaker, I don't think we can really think outside of those persons of instances where they are humiliated by their audience. And the truth is, an audience really wants you to do well. They really want you to teach them something. They want to learn from you. And so they're not invested in having you fail as a public speaker. So that's the first mindset shift that we need to make if we are to think about being public speakers. No one has ever died doing a presentation. You can die from heights and in an airplane crash, but it's very unlikely that you would die in public speaking. So there's no need for this irrational fear, but the fear exists, and I understand that. And what you have is that most people suffer from some level of speech anxiety. And speech anxiety is that nervousness that a speaker feels before, during, and even after presentation. So we know some of the symptoms. Like, anybody can tell me how their nervousness manifests itself.
You sometimes hear the trembling in the voice.
The trembling in the voice, yes. Any others?
Sweating.
You start to stutter.
Stuttering, yes,
Sweaty
that can happen.
palms.
Sweaty palms.
You start fidgeting with like a paper or your pen or whatever.
Yes, yes. Because as humans, having something to touch helps to give us some level of comfort. That's why we cling on to the pen and unfortunately the lectern. Nobody has hit upon my classics. And my situation was that my legs would shake uncontrollably. Like, just shake. And I couldn't stop them. And I'd be happy to be behind a lectern because it meant nobody could see my legs as much shaking. So there are lots of symptoms that come with this anxiety. And where it comes from actually is the whole notion of flight or fight. So, you know, back in the medieval days when the caveman was confronted by the wild beast, the question that came across the mind was, do I fight or do I flight? Do I run? And it produces a whole lot of adrenaline in the body. So this is where the nerves and the shaking and the breathing and the memory loss sometimes will come from. It's that additional energy that the body produces because you're in a situation where basically you can't run, so you have to stay and fight. And fight meaning fight through that speech that you have to give. But what I want to tell you is that it's actually worse from the inside out. What do I mean by that? You as the speaker might be feeling that anxiety, but the audience isn't necessarily picking up on how nervous you might be. So it's easy to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to mess up. This is not going to go well. But actually looking on, the audience is thinking, okay, I have a little jitters, but I know they'll do well. I really want them to do well. So it's actually worse from the inside out. And one of the things we say in Toastmasters is that it's normal to have butterflies. Very normal. In fact, if I'm doing a presentation and I don't have a little bit of butterflies, I get very concerned because it means that maybe this is not as important as it should be to me. So it's normal. Nothing strange about it. But what we want to do is to let the butterflies fly in formation. And how do we do that? Well, I'm just going to give you a few tips about overcoming speech anxiety before we get into the full meat of the matter. So I have Usain Bolt on the screen, and I want you to tell me if you think Usain gets nervous before any race that he competes in. Sorry. You think Usain is nervous?
I think so.
You think so? Right.
Yes, he is.
He is. Okay, but does he look nervous? When we're watching him on screen, what is he doing? He's usually
putting on a show.
He's usually
Putting on a show.
putting on a show. He's usually dancing, and what he's doing is actually getting rid of his nervous energy. That additional energy, he has it. He's just as nervous as any of the other competitors in the race. And they're probably a little more nervous because he's in the race. But what he does is to effectively channel his nervous energy. And I think that when Usain lines up at the starting line, he is thinking that he's going to win. I don't think he thinks I'm going to lose. I think he puts it in his mind, thinks positively, he visualizes his success, he can see himself crossing the finishing line. And that makes a difference for his performances. On the other hand, I think Asafa might have a little difficulty in, I think when he gets into the race, he's not as confident, so it affects his performance. But if you think positively, if you tell yourself that I'm going to do well, I'm going to do a good presentation, it usually manifests itself. Focus on the audience. And what I mean by that is that don't focus on, oh, I'm going to mess up. Oh, it's not going to go well. I'm going to forget my lines. Focus on what is my message to the audience? What do I want them to get? And make your message important so that you are more committed to delivering it well. So if you're really committed to giving the audience something, whether you want the audience to learn something, to be inspired, if you want to persuade them to do something, think about what it is that you're giving to the audience, your message. Your body language is also important. And what do I mean by that? If you walk up to a lectern and you're slouching like this, and you're walking slowly and you're sighing and you're rolling your eyes, you are already putting yourself in the mind that this is not going to go well. But if you walk confidently with your shoulders back and your head up, and if you act and people can see it in your body language, as a matter of fact, most of the communication is nonverbal. It's what people see in terms of your eye contact, and are you looking away from the audience rather than looking at a few members of the audience intermittently from time to time. So your body language will help you to overcome that anxiety. And as I said with Usain, I think when he goes out on the track, he goes out confidently. It shows in his body language. He's high-fiving everybody and fist bump. And that helps him to do well. And it's the same thing with public speaking. The other tip I want to give is to think of it as a conversation with one person. No matter how large the audience is, it will help you to keep a conversational tone, because it's like you're speaking to one person and not this entire large audience. And take deep breaths because it helps you to relax. So the body needs that additional oxygen to be able to perform and function effectively. So taking deep breaths helps to make you relaxed. And my number one tip with overcoming speech anxiety is practice, practice, practice. If you have a speaking engagement, a speaking assignment, work on it, practice, because the more you practice, the more confident you will be in your delivery. Because you didn't write it the night before and you just bring it in front of an audience. You have actually worked on it, and it helps you with your delivery. It helps you to be more comfortable. So it's important to practice, and that's why we're going to do some practice exercises this evening. I'm so excited about that. So why is public speaking important? And as young persons, as Rotaractors, I think it's very commendable that you are looking at this issue, because young people need to harness the power that public speaking can give them. So if you speak, you can influence. If you can influence, you can change lives. And that's what you want to do as young people as Rotaractors, looking to give service, looking to change lives. And the number one tool that will assist you with that is public speaking. So we're going to look at some of the benefits of public speaking just very quickly. And then we'll go into, as I mentioned, really actually working on a speech assignment. So some of the benefits of public speaking is definitely the personal development, definitely the confidence that you will develop. And as I always say, that confidence doesn't leave you once you leave the stage. It takes a lot of confidence to get in front of an audience and to speak. But when you come off the stage, you still have those confident thoughts with you that you can take to other spheres of your life. So the more I spoke as a public, the more opportunities I had to speak, the more confident I was about doing other things in life. That's what public speaking gives you. It develops your listening skills. The more you speak, the more you need to listen. It sounds strange, but it is true. As a public speaker, you find yourself listening to more speakers. And as you listen to more speakers, your knowledge increases and you become more knowledgeable. So there's that benefit that you get from developing as a public speaker. Career and professional development, I cannot overstate this. I have actually sat in interviews with JMMB and other places, and I can tell you that sometimes the difference between the candidate that gets the job and the candidate that doesn't is their delivery. And if you pick up the newspaper any Sunday, any Wednesday, and go through the jobs that are advertised, you'll see one line: excellent oral and written communication skills. There's a reason why that line is there. Employers value, among most skills, they value the ability of the employee to communicate effectively. It can give you the edge. Sometimes the person who gets the job is not the most qualified, but the person who can communicate effectively. And there is a link between public speaking and leadership. If you think about it, the people who generally end up in leadership positions are the ones who can speak effectively. Communication skills become more important as you climb the ladder, your professional ladder. So many times the principal, the teacher, the best teacher in the school does not get the principal job. I'm not dropping any words for any principals in here. Right, right, Secretary Lawrence? The best teacher sometimes does not get the position to be principal, because when they become principal, it's less important how well they teach. What is important is how they communicate with the students, with the teachers, with the ministry, and all the stakeholders that they have to communicate it. So career and professional development is very important and a benefit that you derive from public speaking. Academic benefits. Some of you are students, and as a lecturer, I can tell you the difference between an A paper and a B paper sometimes is the same information, is how the information is organized. And as a public speaker, you have to organize information effectively. So I don't want to spend too much time just to say to you that public speaking can really transform your life. It can open doors for you in your career. It can develop you as a critical thinker. And critical thinking is an important skill that organizations value. So I hope by now I've convinced you that you need to become a public speaker. And what I want to say to you is that you may have different types of speaking arrangements. Somebody may call on you and say suddenly, can you do the toast at my wedding? Your friend is getting married and he asks you to do the toast. Or you might be in a meeting in your office and your boss looks at you and says, so tell me how that project is going. And you're required to speak. No matter the occasion, no matter the type of speech that you're giving, every speech consists of 3 parts. And if you keep that in mind, it will help you through preparation for any speaking assignment, even if you're called upon impromptu. So a speech has an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. 3 parts. And we're going to look at what each part would contain or entail, so that once you are asked to speak, immediately you can think about, okay, I have to do my introduction. This is what it needs to have. This is what the body needs to have. This is what the conclusion needs to have. If you think about it that way, the task doesn't seem as daunting as it might first appear. So the introduction for any speech, one of the primary objectives is that you want to gain the interest and attention of your audience. And if you think about you're reading a book, if you take up a book and the first chapter is pretty boring, what would you do with that book? Or if you're watching a movie, it's very likely that
You'd stop watching and reading.
You would put aside the book and you wouldn't bother to watch the movie.
Right.
If you think about it that way, it's the same thing with a speech. If you do not, in the first couple of minutes of your speech, get your audience interested, you will lose them. So it's important to gain the interest and attention of your audience. And you can use various things. I particularly love stories, but you can use quotations. You could ask rhetorical questions. There's so many things. And why I love stories is that people will remember your speech from your story. That's what they're going to remember. The stories that you told in between, because as humans, we are programmed to love stories. So any speech that you have to speak about, any topic that you have to speak about, one of the first things you're going to have to think about, how am I going to make this interesting for my audience? And as I said, stories work very well. In an introduction, you may also need to establish your credibility. What do I mean by that? An audience will tune in if they feel that you are qualified to speak on the topic. So if it's even something that you researched or it's experience that you have, it's good to tell the audience about that, so that they will say, okay, all right, she might be able to share something. I might be able to learn something new. So establishing your credibility is as simple as my telling you, or in my introduction, in the introduction that Daniel read, mentioning the things that I've done in terms of public speaking. Just so that you as the audience would think, okay, she may know something about public speaking. So it's important to establish your credibility. It's also important to tell your audience what it is you're going to talk about. One of the mistakes that a lot of speakers make is assuming that the audience knows knows what you're going to say. The audience should not be asking themselves, okay, what is this speech really about? You have an obligation in the introduction to let the audience know. So similarly, this evening, I would have said to you, I'm going to do a thing on speech anxiety. I'm going to talk about the benefits, and I'm going to go into the parts of a speech. Just so you know where I'm going. Audiences like roadmaps. They like to know where you're going. So introduction, stories, quotations, startling statistics, rhetorical questions usually will get the audience interested in what you're going to say. I remember doing a speech some years ago in my previous Toastmasters club, and my speech started, fellow Toastmasters, guests, this week I had a frightening experience. I came face to face with a future gunman. That was the start of the speech. And immediately people wanted to know, okay, which gunman, how we meet this man, that sort of thing. So any way that you can gain interest is important in the introduction. The body of the speech now is the meat of the matter. It's what it is, it's what you are going to speak about. So the body consists of your main points. And usually you can come up with 2 to 3 main points on any given topic. The reason you don't want to do more than 2 or 3 is that you want the audience to be able to keep track. If you give them too many main points, they will not have a clue, or they will forget, because your brain is programmed to remember only a certain amount of information. So once you have your main points, you support the main points by giving examples or statistics, research, anything that will make your point valid. Because to make the point by itself with no supporting material is really just an assertion. So your evidence is important. And in the body, you would also have what are called connectives or transition statements. So you might have a preview statement that says, now that we have looked at so-and-so, we will move on to look at. Or in summarizing what has been discussed so far, and you go back and summarize. So there are several connectives that you. Is that a question? Okay. Now, the challenge that most people find is organizing the body of the speech. So you pretty much know what you want to say, or you have an idea what your points are, but you have no idea how am I going to put this material together. And so I just wanted to give you a few tips about organizing the body of your speech. No matter what the topic is, more than likely you can personalize your topic. So let's say you're at a graduation and the principal, somebody turns out not to be there, and the principal says, can you give a few remarks? Where do you start? You can start from your own personal experience. You can give your own perspective. I remember on my graduation day, this is how I felt. It was an important occasion. I was looking forward to moving on to the next phase in my life. No matter, generally speaking, topics can be personalized and you can give your own personal experience. Then there's another method that we call the prep method. You guys can write this down. The PREP method is point, reason, explanation, example, and point. Meaning, you make your point, you state what your point is. You give the reason for your position on the point. You give an example, and then you restate the point. So if you're thrown into a situation where you have to speak all of a sudden, you can think, okay, what is the point I want to make? So let's do an example. Your favorite teacher. My favorite teacher is Mr. Lawrence from Bel-Air High School. Why? Reason. He's a caring teacher. He looks about the interest of his students. He always has the best interest of the students at heart. He's approachable, whatever the reasons are. Example. For example, a student who had no money, and you give an example of the scenario in which he displayed the qualities that you appreciate. And therefore, there is no doubt that Mr. Lawrence stands as an example for all other teachers. He is the teacher that I admire most. You would have done your speech using the PREP method, P-R-E-P. Point, reason, example, point. And your speech would have gone full circle. The other method that you can use is problem solution. So let's say you're asked to speak on a topic such as femicide. I put some examples there. And femicide is what's happening with the killing of females in Jamaica. You start with point one, which is to discuss the problem. Jamaica has a critical problem. We rank second in the world for femicide. These activities are constantly being repeated until you lay out the problem. I believe that the solution, and you go into the solution as your second part, the second main point of your speech. So problem solution is another method that you can use to organize your material quickly. You have also the pro-con method. And the pro-con method is looking at the pros and cons of a scenario. So you get a particularly controversial topic, for example, abortion. Your speech can be organized, the body, by looking at the pros for abortion and the cons. And you would have concisely put your material together. The other, and there are so many of these methods, but I'm just giving you a few. Past, present, future. So you're asked to speak on whether Jamaica is better off now, post-independence, or when we were a colony of Britain. In the past, Jamaica had whatever, and this was the experience, and the dollar was X, and people had Y. Currently, as an independent country, we have X, Y, Z. So you talk about the present. And then in the future, if things don't change, this is what I believe will happen. So the critical thing is to think about what it is you want to say and what is the best way to organize the material. Cause and effect is another one. Cause and effect question could be something like smoking. Should we, or what do you call it? Marijuana. Should we fully legalize it? If we do, it may have these effects. Or a very common method of organizing your material is to look at it by virtue of topics. So as a financial advisor, I'm always speaking about investment options. To organize my speech on investment options, I'll break it out into money market instruments, equity, stocks, real estate, So each main point is actually a topic on which I'm going to speak. That method is very, very popular. So think about the topic, think about the points you want to make, and then just discuss each as a separate topic. So I'll discuss fixed income investments, alternate investments, bonds, real estate, and I'll just break down each of the topics. So that's the primary challenge in preparing a speech. How am I going to organize the body? And I've given you a few tips on how to do that. And finally, you need to conclude. And you would think, but isn't it obvious I need to conclude? One of the challenges that a lot of speakers have is how to end. Or if you're in church and sometimes the minister is telling you, and my final point is, and one more thing, and point A and sub point B, and it goes on and on. An audience wants to know that you are ending your speech. It's very important. So when you say to an audience, in conclusion, or finally, or to close, I would like, it's very important. It's also important that you come down to a nice landing. So this is what I see from a lot of my students. They're talking and then they land like this, nose down. They just end abruptly. What you want is to come down softly. So you signal that you're concluding, you summarize your main points. You might want to put in a call to action. You do a speech on blood donation. And I'm encouraging you that tomorrow, or as soon as possible, sign up to become a blood donor for XYZ. Give your call to action. And you may want to refer to the introduction of your speech. So remember I told you that I did this speech where I talked about meeting a future gunman. And in the speech, I was saying that the principal said to me that in 10 years, that young man is going to be Jamaica's most notorious criminal. That's how I ended up meeting that young man. That particular speech, I ended by saying, it was a very frightening experience looking into, I think his name was Omar's eyes. I hope that neither you nor I will have to look in his eyes in the next 10 years. So what I did was to refer to what I had said in the introduction, where the principal said in 10 years he's going to be a notorious gunman. And I ended by saying, let us hope that we don't have to look in his eyes in 10 years' time. You can bring your speech to a complete circle by referring to your introduction. The story that you told, or the quotation that you gave, or the questions that you asked, you can repeat them in the conclusion. That will take the speech to a nice, safe landing. So that's what a speech is. 3 parts: introduction, body, conclusion. Anytime you're asked to speak, just think, what will I say in my introduction? What am I going to say in my body? How am I going to organize it? And how will I conclude? It's much, when we think about it that way, it's not as daunting as initially it might have seemed. So I'll come back to Toastmasters. What I want to repeat is the fact that we need to practice, practice, practice. If you are to learn how to swim, you cannot stay on the shore and learn how to swim. No matter how somebody teach you all the strokes and the breaststroke and the backstroke, you will not learn to swim until you get into the water. And it's the same thing with public speaking. You can't learn to speak without actually speaking. So what I want is for us to jump in. So this is the workshop part of the presentation. And I'm going to give a few topics, and I'm going to hope that I have some brave persons who will be willing to take on one or two of the topics. And if not, I might have to volunteer a person, but I don't want to do that. I want persons to attempt it. And there are some prizes to be won. So I hope that will be some kind of incentive. All right. So it's just a few topics, and it's just a minute or a minute and a half to 2 minutes that you would need to speak on these topics. So here are a few. And once somebody selects a topic, I don't want it to be repeated, so somebody just move to the next topic. So don't all shout at once. Just pick one of the topics and let's get started with this process. And let's see. And as I said, you want to seize opportunities to speak, because the more you do it, the better you will become at the end of the day. Do I have any brave persons volunteering to take on any of these topics? Why is it important to give service above self?
PP Kelly-Reid, we have to take them in any particular order. We can just take one.
No man, just pick one. Just pick a topic and let's jump in.
All right, so I'm going to brave it out, and I want to take my favorite person.
Okay, so that one is off the table.
Maria.
All right, thank you, Shay. I love that. Anybody else willing to take on a topic?
Good evening. I will try service above self.
Wonderful. Okay. So once you pick your topic, you have a couple of minutes. I'll give you like just a little time to put your thoughts together, and we'll come back to it. Anybody else?
Yes, I would like to take.
Prizes?
I would like to take. What are the keys to success?
Keys to the success. Okay, wonderful. All right. So we have service about self gone, favorite person, keys to success.
PP Karlene, I'd like to take the greatest lesson I've learned in life.
Wonderful. Okay, love that.
PP Karlene?
Yes.
I'll go with, should school regulate student hairstyles?
Good. All right. Great. So we just have one or two more left. Nobody wants to take whether Jamaicans should or should not take the vaccine. Women or men make better managers. Nobody wants to take. That's too controversial. What about the biggest problem facing young people today? Do I have a volunteer for that one? No? Sorry. All right. So Shay, you're going to go first with my favorite person. I'm still giving you a little more time. And Andre, I think it was, the importance. Why is it important to give service above self? And who else do I have? Who was my favorite person?
That was my favorite
Oh,
person.
that was Shay.
Shay.
Sorry. Mm-hmm.
So I am third.
Right.
What are the keys to success?
Success. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. And the greatest lesson I've learned. All right. In the interim, I'll go back to Toastmasters. I'll give you a little time to think about that, and then we'll come back to that. So I wanted to share with you guys about Toastmasters and to encourage you that you should consider joining a Toastmasters club to improve your public speaking skills. It's a perfect environment. So Toastmasters International is a worldwide organization that assists persons to develop communication and leadership skills. And if you notice the tagline, it says where leaders are made. The best advice I can give you this evening is to join a Toastmasters Club. At a minimal cost, you will learn to develop your public speaking and leadership skills. And you will do it in an environment that provides helpful, friendly, constructive evaluations that will help you to learn and grow. So Toastmasters has several pathways that you can choose to pursue. For example, there's presentation mastery, there's leadership development, there's so many, visionary communication, there's so many pathways. And once you join a club, you'll be assigned a mentor who will help you to go through the pathways that you choose. The cost is so minimal for all that you receive, including a monthly subscription to a magazine that helps you to, that gives you tips on public speaking. You can also enter speech competitions to help to develop your skills as a speaker. And if you really want to dream big, you pursue the path and you get to, okay, there is, okay, somebody's asking about whether there is a link to one in Mandeville. No, but as you know, I live here in Mandeville and I am part of Dynamic Speakers. The club meets online, so geographically, there's really no challenge to joining a club across Jamaica. And I think there's several clubs, can't remember exactly how many, that are in Jamaica that you can join. Of course, I'm going to recommend Dynamic Speakers because Dynamic Speakers is the #1 club in, not only in Jamaica, across the district. And the district would be the Caribbean. So I can share more information with you, Kavian. The annual fee for Toastmasters is so minimal that I don't even remember. It is so small. It's something like 20 something US. Is that it? I need a Toastmaster to jump in here. DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster Liz, can you remind me of the fee? I just remember it's very, very.
90 US per year.
20? 90?
90.
Right. 90 US for the year. Not even 100 US. And then you have some local fee, which is also very small. It's the best investment that you can make in your own development as a speaker. You're going to see all kinds of people telling you to join their clubs and pay $60,000 or $40,000 for a 4-week public speaking course. When you can be in a club for 90 US for the year, and you don't pay that at 90 at once. You pay half, and then you pay half yearly, the other half. So it's 45 US for 6 months. Thank you, DTMG. All right, so let's go back. Is that a question? Okay, so Shay, are you ready to go?
It's like I was trying to jot down some stuff, but
okay, don't overthink it.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah. So my talking point is my favorite person. My favorite person feels like hot chocolate and a fuzzy warm blanket on a rainy cold afternoon. This person feels like basking in the sunlight, the love and the support, just like the sun warms every single part of you. My favorite person embodies all the things I like about everybody else in one perfect being. What else I have? Someone I can communicate with non-verbally, someone who understands me simply by being around me. And that's where I got started. I can say, my favorite person is someone who I can relate to, someone I can rely on, someone who allows me to be all the parts of myself, whether they are imperfect or perfect. This person pushes me, motivates me to be the best version of me. And even when I'm not at my best, this person loves me nonetheless. I don't have any more.
I love that.
Dominique, please.
You haven't told me who your best, who your...
Oh, sorry. My favorite person is none other than, I was gonna say Dominique, but Dominique Gwe, no. My favorite person is my best friend, Nicolette.
Can we give her a round of applause, please? Okay, what did she do that was so great there?
The way how she started the introduction.
Right, but what did she do in the introduction that was so, that pulled us all in?
She kind of described it instead of just saying her favorite person is Nicolette. You know, she described it and compared it to hot chocolate and feeling warm and basically describing the person.
Yeah, she used a lot of imagery.
Her tone.
And the tone and the imagery and the mystery. I think you pulled us in with the mystery because we are thinking, okay, who is she describing as this person who is like hot chocolate? And, you know, I was a little curious. So curiosity definitely works. You could have given us an example of something. I think the method you were probably using was the PrEP method. So a nice little example about something that she did or why you would have extended the speech. And then you almost forgot to tell us who she was, but that was an excellent attempt, Shay, and I want to congratulate you on just your bravery and your whole imagery that you were able to create. So let's give her another round of applause, please. So you see we're jumping in. All right, my next person was Andre.
Yeah. And my topic was, why is it important to give service above self? And my answer to that is, service above self is in line with our Rotarian and Rotaract motto. The importance of service above self epitomizes how much as a person we can do to give back to society. This motto reminds us of the importance of being good citizens and good neighbors in our community and country on a whole. To improve the world, you must improve the society you are in. When you help society, there's this sense of feeling and satisfaction that you can help thousands of lives to create an impact and make a difference.
Round of applause, please. All right, so let's discuss Andre's Andre's presentation. Okay, what did we like about his presentation?
I liked that he was, I want to say informative, like, you know, you felt like he knew what he was talking about, so you wanted to listen because you're saying, yeah, this person has, you know, some in-depth kind of knowledge.
I think his vocal quality is really, really great.
Yes.
You have a wonderful speaking voice, Andre. And
thank you.
Yes, you sound good. You really do. You had nicely put together your reasons for giving service above self. One thing I would say to you is that you could have personalized this. This is something you could have definitely given us your personal experience. Are you a Rotaract?
Yes, I am.
Okay, yes, so definitely you could have told us that you joined Rotaract in whenever you joined, and this has been your experience and this is what you have gained and so on. So that is a recommendation I would definitely make for you.
Okay.
But I think your information was nicely nicely put together.
In the short period of time.
In a short period of time, but sometimes you're going to be called upon that suddenly.
That's right.
In Toastmasters, we have a thing called table topics. And it's when you get to the lectern that you are told the topic and you have to speak for 2 minutes without the use of arms. So it's something that we're trained to do. So yes, you had wrote that down, but you could also have just given us some personal experiences. And that would have, you know, given more body to what you said. But I think a very good attempt.
Thank you.
In, as you said, the short space of time. Love your voice, really nice voice. All right, anybody, any other brave soul who is ready? Keys to success.
Keys to success. Before a person can truly achieve success. Somebody saying something?
No, you can go ahead, Daniel.
Okay. Before a person can truly achieve success, one needs to acknowledge that success begins with you. Focus on yourself and tell yourself that you deserve this. You deserve this opportunity. You deserve goodness. And best of all, this is yours. Be honest with yourself before you can be honest with others. One of the greatest ways to focus on yourself is to have conversations with yourself. In being honest, have mirror conversations with yourself. Address yourself by your name, call yourself your name. I do that, and it makes me feel incredibly great. Looking myself in the mirror, telling myself that I deserve this opportunity is mine, and I'm gonna take it on as if it's already mine. And so I believe that failure to do this can lead to the biggest fears that young people face today. And that includes fear and doubt. Many times persons, they have negative talks with themselves and they stop themselves from even trying to do something before even attempting to do it. So conversations with yourself is very important, and just understanding and knowing that you deserve this opportunity. This is yours and you should go at it with all your might. Listen to yourself. Pay attention to persons who you believe that can help you. Listen to the way they speak. Do you think this person can help you? If so, associate yourself with that person in order to overcome a fear that you may have. Fear can be crippling, and so you don't want to be the one that robs yourself of your own success. So once again, before a person can achieve real success, one needs to understand that success starts with you.
I never thought you'd never like to speak in public. You sound like a very experienced speaker, somebody who's been speaking for years upon years. No?
No.
You,
I took some notes.
Yeah?
I took a lot of notes.
Okay. All right. A very good attempt to Daniel. I loved your passion and commitment to what you were saying, your constant reference to your own personal experiences. One of the things I think you could have just outlined to us, what are the keys, and then speak about each one. So like a little preview statement would have helped you keep you focused on your points. But I would say a very good attempt, and you came back and connected back to your introduction in the end. So you had a concluding statement. So again, it's just more practice in terms of getting your ideas out and speaking publicly.
Thank you.
Keys to success. There's some greatest lesson I've learned. Yes. All right, let's move on to greatest lesson I've learned. And let's hear Clayton take that one away.
All right, good night, everyone. I'll be presenting on the greatest lesson I've learned in life. Just listen for a second.
I know, tell them be humble. Sit down.
right, so as the song says, be humble. That's my greatest lesson that I've learned. Humility is in fact one of the most powerful and important attributes that will help for growth personally and professionally. Benefits of being humble, you may say, are there benefits? Of course there's benefits. Benefits help to build trust. It also helps facilitates learning. If you're too overconfident and too knowledgeable in your mind, you may not want to learn anything else. Thirdly, it helps growth in leadership and personal development, not only in your professional or your leadership background, it also helps you personally. An example I want to share, I don't know if you guys know Shakari Richardson. She was bragging, she was very overconfident about her race. And today, if you saw the race, she came sixth, not third,
No,
not
no,
second,
ninth,
sixth.
ninth,
Ninth?
ninth.
My
She came dead
apologies. She
last.
came dead last. And she was so, bragging and overconfident at first. So in essence, what do we take from that? Be humble. I just want to remind everyone to practice humility. It will give growth. Thank you.
All right, Clayton. Guys, tell me, what did he do very well?
The example of the person that was bragging and then was, that really tied everything in about the importance of remaining humble. And the little song kind of
The song was his attention getter, because I think we were all tuned in to say, okay, what is this song about? To know. I also think you have a very good voice to Clayton. You sound quite a nice professional sounding voice. You had your two main points and you gave examples. And that again is very good. And your example was like such a good current example, considering that happened today. So, I really had a good laugh today with that scenario with Miss Richardson. Yeah. So again, anybody else have any feedback for Clayton? Shay, you gave your feedback. Any other feedback?
I liked how he connected the points. He made a connection to the song. And then in the end, he encouraged persons to embrace his topic, which is to practice humility.
Right, so he concluded. Yes, very well. So I think just listening to our four speakers today, we saw so many different examples. We had Shay using some mystery. We had Clayton using the song to bring in their attention, to get people's attention. We had the points nicely laid out. So we actually saw some of it in practice today. Is there anybody else who wants to attempt any of these topics? Remember what I said, you have to jump into the water. You have to actually practice speaking.
Karlene?
Yes.
I had selected.
Oh yes, you had selected.
I selected what should school regulate hairstyles.
Yes, President Damien, take it away.
All right. Good night, everyone. I'll be presenting tonight on should schools regulate students' hairstyles. I want to start by sharing a very personal experience on this topic. One morning during my high school days, I got dressed for school. And while I was in class, I was told to go to the principal's office. He gave me a letter saying my hair was not groomed properly and I was told to go home. That day, I had my favorite subject, science, and I missed the entire day learning about photosynthesis. I missed the day of learning and interacting with my peers because my hair was grown out and not cut. Was that fair? Numerous times, students are forced to miss lessons because of the way they decide to wear their hair. Should we hold a child hostage because of the religious aspect that govern the way they carry their hair? Or should school allow students to express themselves freely and wear their hair as a form of freedom of expression. In conclusion, I want to say schools should not regulate a student's hairstyles, and they should be given the opportunity to freely express themselves in the way they carry their hair.
Okay, what was great about Damien's presentation?
I feel like I'm always talking.
He
His
personalized it by talking about his own personal story.
Personal experience, yes. I think that was excellent, Damien. You saw the topic and you immediately put your personal experience up front. Yes. Anything else?
The use of rhetorical questions, which causes us to ponder about what he's saying.
Yes, rhetorical questions are an excellent device because it gets the audience thinking. They're not necessarily going to answer you up, but they're answering you in their minds. So I think that was excellent. I love the use of the story to start. In fact, I wouldn't even have said, tonight I'm going to speak about here. I would have just gone to the story, because then you just pulled us in by saying, okay, one day at school you were told to go to the principal's office. What would they be pulling you out of class to go to the principal's office about? And so on. So I think that was very well done, Damien. Also love that you asked those rhetorical questions as was mentioned. And you seem to be very, very passionate about the subject, maybe because of what happened to you. But I got the feeling that you're very strong in your belief that this doesn't make any sense. And schools should not regulate hairstyles. So I love that. Again, we've seen an example. So from what we see, there's so many ways to introduce your topic. You can use the mystery that Shay used. You can use the story that Damien told us. You can use the questions. And once you know what your points are, I know we didn't have a lot of time to prepare, so I'm not gonna worry about that. What I loved is that you all took on the challenge and you organized your thoughts and you delivered your speech. So congratulations. Do I have any other brave soul who wants to try anything else on any of the other topics? So to recap, in concluding, just want to say that public speaking can really change your life. It can provide career advancement. It can help you to be a better student. It can help you to develop confidence. You are going to feel some form of speech anxiety. It's normal. What you do with the anxiety is what is important. You can help to overcome speech anxiety by breathing, practicing your body language, your visualization, being positive about public speaking. In addition, every speech that you give has to have 3 parts: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. The introduction, you want to gain the interest and attention of your audience. You don't want them to turn the channel or close the book before you have even gotten started. The body can be organized in several ways. We discussed some today: problem solution, pro, con, topical method, the prep method. You can personalize it. Most topics can be personalized, and that can help you to organize your material. You can conclude by signaling that you're going to end, summarizing your main points, recapping. You can end with a call to action, or you can end with a reference to the introduction. Every speech consists of those 3 parts. You can also seize opportunities to practice public speaking. If your boss, if you're asked to go do a presentation for the company, don't turn it down. Seize the opportunity and jump at it. Each time you do practice, you get better. You can also join with Toastmasters at a minimal cost, 90 US for the year. You don't pay everything all at once. And you can be in an environment that helps to foster your public speaking skills, helps you to grow, not only as a speaker, not only to develop your communication skills, but your leadership skills. So practice, practice, practice. Are there any questions that you have for me?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
I just want to get your view as to how you would go about answering a specific topic. So if you were to do a presentation on domestic violence and women in Jamaica, how would you actually start off the topic? What approach would you take?
Okay. To do a topic like that, and it depends on the angle that you are. Is there a specific angle? Like, do you want to know the causes or solution? Is there any particular angle to that topic, or just to speak on it generally?
Just to speak on it generally.
Okay. All right. So for me, if I'm doing a topic like that, I would start with a story. That would be my attention getter. I would create in your minds, you would see the picture of the woman being abused and hearing the screaming at nights, and I would have created that picture. Once I create that picture, I would move into some of the statistics about femicide and domestic violence in Jamaica. In other words, what I'm saying is that I've given you the story, but this story is not so rare. This story happens every day in neighborhoods right across Jamaica. Women similar to, and I'll give the character a name, similar to that character, are faced with this issue every day. I would talk about the statistics on domestic violence, which are really very alarming in Jamaica. We really do have the second highest rate of femicide in the world. So more women get killed in Jamaica than most other countries. And once I've established the statistics, I'll probably take an angle whether I'm going to talk about the root cause of the problem and give some solutions that I think are necessary. So I would talk about the fact that I think we need more shelters. We need more domestic abuse hotlines. We need to change the culture or the mindset so that a woman can go and report the matter to the police and people don't tell her that it's man or woman business. So it's a cultural shift that is necessary. How we train our boys and how we raise our children and the values that we inculcate in them, I think is part of the problem too. So that would be part of what I would discuss in terms of a solution to the problem. I think women need to be more independent. Well, women are independent. There's so many, that problem is so multifactorial that is just, that's why I asked you the angle, because it's hard to, you're going to have to take an angle because it's hard to discuss everything involved in that particular issue in Jamaica, not in a regular speech. But that was a great question, Danielle, thank you. Do you see where I would be going with that topic?
Yes, I definitely see where you'll be going, but I think that looking at it from, or taking the angle of examining the cause and effect, that would be a bit more, what's the word? I don't know. That would be a good way to, that would be a good area to address it from.
Oh, okay. I was thinking problem solution more than cause and effect, because we definitely have a problem and we need to find a solution to fix it. It cannot continue at the rate that it is continuing at. I actually did a speech on domestic violence in my Toastmasters Club. I did a speech called I Choose to Challenge, and I was talking about the whole business of domestic abuse. I started this speech with a story of a little girl shuffling in St. Elizabeth who was swapped for a piece of land. Gleaner headline said, 9-year-old swapped for land in St. Elizabeth. So that's how I started this speech, and then I went into the problem. But it's a very, very topical issue. And the more we talk about it, the more we can try to shift things in this society. Yeah. Any other questions? Look in the chat. All right, I thought somebody was going to challenge me to speak on one of these topics. No? All right, I've gotten off the hook. So, no other questions, comments, issues? No? All right. What I would love for you guys is to watch a speech from Toastmasters as a little inspiration.
EP Karlene?
Someone
Yes.
volunteered in the chat.
Someone in the chat wants to try Keys to Success.
Oh, wonderful.
It's Ramon Nesbitt from Rotaract Club of Kingston.
Oh, great. All right, go ahead, Ramon. The floor is yours. I love that.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Ramon Nesbitt, and I'm from the Rotaract Club of Kingston. And so today we'll be presenting to you guys on the keys for success. Just before we identify some of the keys for success, we first need to define what is success. So according to Life's Hack, success is the status of having achieved, accomplished an aim or objective. So in other words, whatever it is that you have set out to accomplish, you reaching a status of achieving those accomplishments would be classified as you being successful. Now, a lot of persons, have failed because they don't identify the objective of success. In other words, people don't, they don't know what they want to succeed in. So they fail to identify that. So my first key that I'd want to put forward to you guys as it relates to key for you being successful is identifying your gift. What do I mean by that? What it is that you are talented with? What it is that you do with so little effort, but yet so well. When you identify that gift, you will develop that gift. And so in developing that gift, I believe, that person will develop self-discipline, developing who you are as an individual, what your belief, which will change your attitude. And I must add, that person needs to be persistent. And in you being persistent, again, I say that's you being a disciplined person, and identifying your gift will lead you in all those paths where you will identify that I want to do this. I have a passion for this. I am driven. And so this should not be taken very much as it relates to my mental strength, etc., for me to accomplish it. Now, when we identify those gifts, or that particular gift, because we often think about material things, that would make us successful. And the truth is, if you identify that, develop that, be persistent in your pursuit, and be disciplined in accomplishing those goals you set out. I mean, all those materialistic things, definitely fall in place. And so, those are my keys to success. And as one of our greatest actors of all time, Mr. Denzel Washington, he said in one of his speeches, he said, hard work is what successful people do. He said, hard work works. Sometimes people, I mean, I'm going to be really frank. They say education is the key to success. And we have some of the most educated person here in Jamaica who struggle, to accomplish their goals. So I definitely would agree with that statement. Like I said before, hard work works. Don't just work hard, work smart, develop your gift, and be disciplined. And in closing, what I want to say to everyone tonight is understanding that we don't, seek after the materialistic things. Seek to develop yourself. And trust me, all that you want to accomplish, it will fall into place. That's from me.
Ramon,
Hello?
were you reading at any point, or you were just speaking?
I was just speaking. I mean, I had some pointers, but I was speaking for the most part.
Wow. So guys, what did Ramon do well? Ramon, you did something that is very important, that I really actually should have said earlier. Don't be afraid of the pause. A pause is a great thing in a speech. So sometimes when we are fearful of speaking, we fear that pause and we think, okay, I didn't say anything, or there's a point at which I'm not saying anything and therefore I am failing at the speech. You are actually not failing. So I thought you paused so effectively. You had you defined what was success. Then you gave your points about what are the keys that you think are important. The one about identifying your gift is an excellent point. Excellent point. Being on purpose, knowing what it is that you're gifted to do. And then you went into the thing about hard work. I love that you used the quotation at the end. I think you did really, really well. At some point, I figured you were speaking, but it was so well organized at points that I wondered if you were reading. So I think that's an excellent factor.
To be honest, it's something that I really like doing, and
really?
I do it from time to time. So
yes, and your points were very clear. I got your points really, really clearly. So I think you should really work on developing that, because you have the basis to get started and further develop your skills.
all right, thank you.
All right, so I am going to give some little awards to everyone who spoke. We're going to need your telephone numbers. You're all going to get credit. In addition to getting credit, the guys will get a 6-pack of their favorite beer. And the young ladies, the brave young ladies, Shay and Danielle, I have some tokens for you as well. and I will pass them on to Dominique by Wednesday. So congratulations to all the persons who started. So Clayton, you need to tell Dominique your favorite bear. Damon, you need to tell Dominique your favorite bear. Andre, you need to tell Dominique your favorite bear. And Ramond, you're from the Rotaract Club of Kingston, so I'm not quite sure how we're going to work out your bear. We'll find a way. And the young ladies will also, but everybody will get some credit, which I'm going to ask Dominique to send to your individual phone. So private messenger. But I want to thank you guys for jumping in. As I said, the only way to develop as a speaker is to speak. You can't get around it. And the more you do it, the more you practice, the better you become. Doorway Express. All right, we'll figure out how we can Doorway Express to Ramond. But thank you guys for your attention. Thank you so much for getting involved. Thank you so much for participating. I'm here if you have any questions at some later point, feel free to reach out. I would be happy to help. And just to put in another plug for myself, I speak on public speaking all the time, but another thing I speak about is money management, budgeting. So if you ever want a speaker for that, I am telling you that I'm also willing to support you with that. And that's because of my role at JMB. You know, and I'm passionate about young people learning about money management early and also about public speaking. So it's really passions that I have. And I'm willing to give that support to the Rotaract Club.
All right, thank you very much, PP, Karlene. That was a great session. I really enjoyed it. And I'm sure that other members, including myself, we're taking a lot of notes and points that we will be using going forward. All right, so we're going to now have our vote of thanks done by Treasurer Clayton. Go ahead, Treasurer.
All right, thank you. Good night, everyone. PP, Karlene, that was not just a presentation, that was a whole masterclass. We want to thank you so much for sharing such informative and engaging presentations. I remember doing presentations when I was younger and I was so anxious and nervous that I forgot a whole introduction, introducing myself, introducing the topic. But you have taught us how to navigate through nervousness and anxiety, and we are truly appreciative. I'm sure everyone here is appreciative of the presentation, as public speaking is a strong skill that is needed in everyone's profession, not only one, but everyone's profession. Thank you for teaching us about prep. Not only do we need to prep physically for our presentation, but prep our speeches, which includes point, reason, example, and points. And lastly, thank you so much for sharing the #1 tip for public speaking. And what is that? Practice, practice, practice. Thank you again, PP, Karlene.
Excellent.